Go forth, mind, body, and spirit. We are reading the Treaty of Grenada in 1491. Nothing official, but we're at foreignexchanges.news today. The final remaining Islamic kingdom on the Iberian Peninsula surrenders to the King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. Look up who they are. What's the Islamic kingdom? Who's Queen Isabella and who's King Ferdinand? November 25th, 2019. If you're interested in foreign affairs, check it out. You can subscribe here. The end of the Reconquista came on January 2nd, 1492, when the last Muslim ruler of Grenada in the Nasrid Sultan Abu Abdullah Muhammad the 12th, Boabdil, to the Spaniards, for whom Abu Abdallah was too hard to pronounce when the exiles into Morocco, as you can tell. But by that point, this departure was formality. Boabdil was obliged to leave the Treaty of Grenada, which he signed along with the victorious King Ferdinand of Aragon. In death, he died in 1516, and Queen Isabella of Castile. Death is 1504 on November 25th, 1491. Spanish painter Francisco Pradilla Ortiz, 1821. The Treaty of Grenada ended the Grenada War, go figure, which started in 1482 after incredibly ill-advised Grenadian attack on the Castilian city of Zahara, ordered by the reigning sultans and Boabdil's father, Abdul al-Hassan Ali. The Grenadans took Zahara, but it was Pyrrhic victory, if there ever was one. Isabella had only just won out the struggle to succeed her brother Henry IX, date of 1474. As ruler of Castile, which meant the Proto-Spanish kingdoms, were now united by virtue of her marriage with Ferdinand of Aragon. This was bad news for the Grenadans. Not only was the combined Aragonese Castile army much stronger than the army of Abul Hassan Ali could muster, but the combined kingdom had resource to bring the artillery experts in to design, craft plenty of siege guns. Also bad news for the Grenadans was the fact that Boabdil decided to revolt against his father and declare himself sultan. Don't want to do that. Shortly after he began his rebellion, Boabdil was briefly captured by Ferdinand and Isabella, but quickly realizing what they had, they realized and even supported the younger prince in order to throw the Grenadans into civil war. By 1487, Boabdil had won his rebellion and was the ruler of Grenada, which would not have been possible without the support of the Spanish monarchs, surprisingly. But if he was expecting his former backers to let him rule in a peace as their vassal, he was in for a real shock when they started gobbling up his territory instead. He sent for aid for Muslim rulers in Fez and Egypt. But the most he got was a strongly worded cut-the-crap letter from Egypt, Mamluk Sultan Qaitbay to Ferdinand, which shockingly had no effect. Ferdinand and Isabella's army besieged Grenada in April 14, 1991, and the surrender of the city was foregone to conclusion. The treaty is actually a marvel of religion and tolerance, one that is completely discarded in the frenzied forced conversion, expulsion, Spanish Inquisition period that was to follow over the next couple centuries. It provided Muslims in Grenada to keep their property and places of freedom of worship if they chose to stay, and allowed them safe passage to North Africa if they chose to leave. It stipulated that Muslims in Grenada should be governed according to Islamic law and not forced to convert to Christianity. Interesting. It even exempted Grenadian Muslims from taxation for an interim period of time. Boabdil went off into exile in Fez, where he lived until his death in 1533. Portrait of Boabdil right here. The religious protection enshrined for all the treaty and remained in force plus decade. Life in 1491, scant 18 years, Muslims lived in Grenada, felt mistreated enough to revolt. Their uprising was quickly put down, but only used as an excuse for Ferdinand and Isabella to tear up the Treaty of Grenada and institute a policy for forced conversion or expulsion, one that could argue that Muslims got off easy.